Hello, welcome to Bot 3. So last time we looked at loading the initial game state for our Minesweeper game and displaying it on the screen, and we also added some basic unit tests around the loading. So this time we're going to continue work on the UI in preparation for actually writing the interesting code that's going to do the solving. So the way I think it's going to work is we're going to add a button to our screen, and every time we click the button it's going to solve the next cell and then display the newly solved cell on the screen. However, it's not just a question of solving one cell at a time. For example, if we were examining this one, we'd say, well, we know none of this cell has any mines as neighbours, so we'd actually be solving all three of these at once. So the result we get back from the solver will contain those three cells. It will contain a description of why we solved it. It's because there are no neighbours with mines, and we'll probably also highlight this cell to say this is the interesting cell that we're looking at in order to solve these three things. So I think let's start off by adding the button. So, this should be fairly straightforward. So we need a new button. So we set the text of the button. I think it will size itself automatically, and I think it will position itself in the top left automatically. Okay. So that's the event that's going to fire when the user clicks on the button, and the only other thing we have to do is add it to the form itself. Oh yeah, you can't set up events there. Okay, that's fine. Right, so just test that works. So at the moment, we're hoping the button's going to appear, and when we click on it, we should get an exception because we've got no event. Yeah, so it's appeared. That's fine for the moment. Now we click on that, and it's going to crash. Perfect. So what we're going to do is two things. Is we're going to ask the game thing to solve. Just want to solve for the moment. So that's going to return some sort of result with our details in. And then we're going to pass that to the game drawer to actually display. Move maybe. So that's going to need a graphics object. And then before we do the solve, we actually need to display the old board. So let's do that here. Because we want to hide the details of the previous solution. And we probably want to start off with a dark screen as well. Okay, so we start off an empty screen, we draw everything we know about it currently, we then solve it to get our new details, and then we can draw the additional data on top of the current screen. That seems to make sense. So we need to define our solve method now. Let's say it's going to return a solution. And a solution is going to be so we write a description. we want to know which cell we were examining, so sort of the cell of interest. And we need to know which cells were solved. Yeah. Maybe actually solved cells. And that will be the rate of them. So rather than passing these tuples about all over the place, I think we should create a structure which is a cell location. And we can make that immutable as well. So we have to give it a constructor. Okay, so the cell of interest is now a cell location, and solve cells is just an array. That's nicer. So in the case where we can't find a solution, I think we'll probably end up returning null. So that's for the solution. So that's fine, because cell location can never be null as a structure. Okay, so we can put that in its own file now. And likewise with our solution. Pick the wrong. Okay, and for the moment, just so we can see some data, we'll just return some dummy values. So the cell we've just been looking at, for example, might be 3. The dissolved cells might be let's say we've solved 1,3 and 3,3, and a description is a test. Okay, so now that's that bit done. So we've got our solution. So the next thing is to display the solution on the board. So add a method for that. Right. So what we need, we've got 3 things we need to display. We've got our description, our cell of interest, and our solved cells. So to display the cell of interest and the solved cells, we're just going to be calling draw symbol, but we're going to want to draw them in a different colour. So we also need to take the colour in. So what we use a brush. So we're using brushes .black. So the one we're interested in. So we could probably do that in maybe red. So and then the solved cells. So this will be cell.column, cell.row. And this time I think we can do it in blue. And then finally we want to do the description. So here we're going to draw this string, and I think we should put the description on the right hand side of the board. So colour, I think black is fine. So location, so the X will be the right hand side of the board, so that's going to be number of columns times cell size, probably +1. And the Y location is going to be whichever row we're currently in, so that will be row times cell size, and I think we're going to need to add a small offset, so I guess that we don't want to appear at the top of the row, so maybe 15, 20, 20. So that would be and we might want a different font. Probably half the size. Okay, so we draw these, the one we're interested in red, then for each of the solved cells we draw them in blue, and then finally we just display a description of how we solved it on the right hand side. So there we go. Okay, so it's drawn, so that's okay. It's drawn blue, which is the that wasn't what I was expecting to see. So breakpoint in. So our solution so our cell of interest is 2, 3. One, two, one. That's like 1, 2, 3. So that's our cell of interest. I know the problem. I think our code's working. It's our test data that's wrong. Oops. What we need to do is the solve method is so we're returning a dummy solution, but we're not actually updating the board. So we need to do the same thing. So our doesn't really matter what we put in. So our cell of interest, that was probably going to be a number. And this is even going to be a minor one, not mine. So that was what we have. Oh, we've got a constant for that. Right, let's try that. Okay, I can see what's going on here. Right, so we've correctly displayed our set of interest. That's our 4, that's fine in red. We put the description OK, and unfortunately we picked cells which contained values already for our test data. And the other problem is we're displaying -3 and -2 rather than the actual correct symbol. So we should put that one in 0,3 instead of 1,3. And when we're rendering the symbol, here, so if we return a mine, we put an exclamation mark, and if we know the cell doesn't contain a mine, so it was a miss, okay, that's much better. Right, so we've now got a way of actually hooking up the solver to the UI, so our next job will be to create the solver itself, which is the more interesting bit, and we shall do that in the next video. Thank you.